happiness is not for this life, but you can be moderately happier if you have a good education, and this education is fitted to find a job for your modest happiness.
Grazie mille. Thank you for
Grazie
being
a lei.
here. It's really an honor for us.
It's my
And
pleasure.
Thank you so much. I would love to ask you as a professor first, as Professor Prodi. What do you think about education, Mr. Prodi? What do you think about countries like Spain? We are questioning all the time our education system, and we look a lot to the Nordics. What do you think is right and wrong in the education we have today, and how we are preparing our children?
But right or wrong, difficult to say. I am an economist, and I tell you that if I have to choose the most progressive countries in world economy, let's say South Korea, to give you an example, or Germany, Europe, I analyze why and this education.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Of course, education dedicated to growth. Education could be dedicated to other goals,
Yeah.
but I think that is absolutely the resource for progress is education.
Yeah.
And generally, of course, I'm not specialist in analyzing the Spanish or the Italian system, but what is lacking is, let's say, the link between school and the productive system. There is a missing link in our society and not in German society. People say, look, but the Germans, because they changed the labor laws. Well, this had some importance, but the importance is how you make that all human resources are exploited well in a society. So not only top teaching, it's more important, let's say, primary school or even nursery than university.
Yeah. Exactly. And why do you think it's so difficult for us as, I don't know, I'm talking about Spain, Italy, Greece, to look to other cultures and the way they teach and the way they do with kids?
At least in my country is a tradition that school and professors, because I belong to the professors, so I know my boys. Professor, they think very often that they are separate, that they are professor, and so they don't need any infection from outside. And many times they think that knowing is per se important, independent from the application, And this is deep-rooted in our society. We are not empirical society, And we enjoy that. We enjoy when you go and then you talk how to reform, then you have obstacles.
Yeah. Okay, and let me talk now to you as one of the most influential leaders in the world. And I would love to know, I would love to talk about unemployment. What is it in countries like Spain? Our unemployment rate is huge. Is it that we don't know the answers, or we know the solutions, but we just don't put them in place because of the reasons? Because it's such a huge issue that we cannot solve on a reasonable way.
You have many, let's say, stages, many explanations you have. Now in the world you have a general explanation. Terrible, huh? In the sense that productivity, let's say, the new technologies are expelling work and expelling especially the middle class, Think how many secretaries disappear because of computer or iPad, that. Consider the designers, technical companies. If you take lawyer, group of lawyers, the young people who were working on precedent, reading books,
Yeah.
all that is creating a lot of unemployment. You could answer me, look, but is the same that is happening in other revolution. No, it's not the same, because when you invented cars, of course the previous builders of horses, carrosseries, they were unhappy, but immediately you had roads, refineries, so on, so on, and so on. Here we are in a moment in which in the wealthy country we have a slow growth, and you don't reabsorb that. This is a general. Then you have societies like Spain and Italy, in which you have also a wrong mix, a wrong production of, let's say, education, a wrong educational system. And so you have not enough innovators, and so we lose jobs going to low-cost countries as United States do. But we don't include jobs of innovators that are mainly belonging to the United States. This is our misshaping of resources, and this produces unemployment,
And what is the kind of world that you think your students are going to create? Are you positive or negative? How do you foresee the world in 10, 15 years?
Oh, you depend. The answer is very clear, If Europe does not act together in order to be among the world leaders, they will suffer a lot, So I shall tell, look, it will be difficult for you. If we stick together, we can go back to be leaders, and so young people may find jobs for their satisfaction. Clearly, we have another danger, that all this change in technology and in globalization, in shifting, moving of the jobs, they are creating everywhere in the world a split, an increasing split between poor and wealthy. And this has some big consequences. I am not talking on moral consequences that are so important, but as an economy, the consequence is that you accumulate wealth to people who don't spend, because the propensity to consumption is lower. And so you have increasing production and not increasing demand. And this will create more and more problems to the future.
Yeah.
And we have to avoid that, also with some wiser political decision. But this is very difficult. This is very difficult because any time that you want to correct the distribution of income, you find more enemies than friends.
Yeah. And we always say that these new generations are the best prepared, the most educated ones. What do you think they must, if you could talk to all of them, what would you tell them to learn from the earlier generations? What do you think they should never forget? What the elders have learned? What would that be that they should be learning from us, from the not so young generations?
Look, experience is still important, I think, and many times the new generation, they don't consider that, but it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
So I cannot say, look at them, they will never do that, because, but it's true.
Yeah.
They must make mistakes.
Yes, they have.
And so simply say, look, if you make a mistake, correct very soon and change,
Yeah.
But we have to create a society, and this is a problem in Europe, in which people who make mistake can be still considered able to do something.
It's accepted.
Because a young entrepreneur who has a bankruptcy is a tragedy for life. So this is a big mistake, of course, but it's a simple mistake.
Yeah.
And if we think that is a tragedy, we shall never exploit the energy of this boy or this girl.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, one last question. I have to ask you, how would you define happiness?
Oh, what a question.
It's not easy, but it's the last one. And do you think you can find happiness in politics?
Look, I tell you a very sincere answer, maybe contradictory with what I told before, but in my life, the happiest period of my life has been the last 7 years, in which I am out of politics. I have some authority, but without responsibility. And to have authority without responsibility is fantastic.
Yeah, not bad. Okay, well, thank you so much, Mr. Prodi. Un piacere. Grazie mille.
Grazie.
Arrivederci. Thank you so much.
Thank you.